There is something almost irrational about a person who chooses a 30-year-old car over a brand new one. And yet, millions of people do exactly that. Not because they cannot afford better, but because they do not want better. That single fact should tell you everything about how deeply psychology is involved here. Let us talk about the people who love old BMWs. Not collectors, not investors, just everyday people who drive these machines through traffic, fix them on weekends, spend money they probably should not spend. And feel something when they turn that key that newer cars simply cannot replicate. What is happening inside their minds? Because this is not really about cars at all. When psychologists study human attachment, they consistently find that the objects we love the most are rarely about function. They are about identity. The things we choose to surround ourselves with tell a story about who we believe we are, or more accurately, who we want to be. And old BMWs carry a very specific identity signal, one that is becoming more powerful, not less, as time goes on. Think about what an older BMW represents in today's world. Everything around us is becoming smoother, softer, more automated, more disconnected. Your phone makes decisions for you. Your car parks itself. Algorithms decide what you watch, what you buy, who you meet. The modern world has been engineered to remove friction from your life. And on the surface, that sounds wonderful. But the human brain was not built for a frictionless world. It was built for challenge, resistance, and earned reward. When someone gets behind the wheel of an old E30 or E46, they are not just driving. They are solving a problem in real time. They feel every bump in the road. They work through gears manually. They sense the weight of the car shifting in corners. Their hands, their feet, their instincts, everything is engaged. And that engagement produces something that modern cars simply cannot manufacture. It produces presence. And presence is something that an entire generation is starving for without even knowing it. There's a psychological concept called flow state, a condition first described by psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It occurs when a task is challenging enough to demand your full attention, but not so overwhelming that it causes anxiety. It is the mental state where time disappears, where you forget your problems, where you feel completely alive. Most people chase this feeling through extreme sports, video games, or creative work. Old BMW drivers find it on an ordinary Tuesday morning commute. Now, here is something that most people never think about. The imperfections of these cars are not a flaw. They are the entire point. A car that requires care, attention, and maintenance creates a relationship. You learn its quirks. You understand its sounds. You know exactly what that subtle vibration at 60 miles per hour means. And over time, this car becomes something almost like a companion, an object that rewards your knowledge and punishes your neglect. That dynamic triggers the same neurological pathways as a meaningful human relationship: attachment, investment, and loyalty. Psychologists call this the IKEA effect. When you build something yourself, when you invest your own effort into something, you value it far beyond its objective worth. Old BMW owners do not just drive their cars, they bleed for them. They spend weekends under them. They argue about them on forums at midnight. And every hour of effort makes the bond deeper and more personal. You cannot replicate that with a car you bought, plugged in, and drove off the lot. There is also the matter of nostalgia, but not in the way most people assume. Psychologists have found that nostalgia is not really about the past. It is about the self. When people feel nostalgic, they are not mourning a time that is gone. They are reconnecting with a version of themselves that felt more alive, more free, more authentic. For many old BMW lovers, these cars are tied to moments of peak personal identity: youth, freedom, ambition, early independence. Getting in that car does not take them back in time. It makes them feel like the person they most want to be, right now, today. And then there is something deeper. Something that the culture itself does not like to talk about. There is a growing, quiet rebellion happening among a certain kind of person. Someone who looks at the hyper-modern, hyper-connected, algorithmically curated world and feels an instinctive rejection. Not because they are nostalgic or irrational, but because something in them recognizes that a lot of what is called progress is actually a form of disconnection. Disconnection from effort, from skill, from the physical, tactile, human experience of doing real things in a real world. Old BMWs are analog in a digital age. They do not update overnight. They do not send you notifications. They do not learn your preferences and adjust accordingly. They demand something from you. And for a certain psychological profile, typically someone who values mastery, autonomy, and authenticity above comfort and convenience, that demand is not a burden. It is a gift. Research in self-determination theory tells us that human beings have three core psychological needs: competence, autonomy, and relatedness. The need to feel capable, the need to feel in control, the need to feel connected to others and to something meaningful. A modern luxury car satisfies almost none of these needs. It is designed to do everything for you, but an old BMW, it demands competence. It rewards skill. It puts you in complete control. And it connects you to a global community of people who share your exact obsession. All three psychological needs met simultaneously. This explains why you will find old BMW communities in every country on Earth, why a kid in Lahore and a mechanic in Munich and a teacher in Lagos can all feel the exact same thing when an E39 M5 rolls past them on the street. It is not about the country. It is not about the money. It is about a shared psychological experience that transcends all of that. And here is something fascinating about the demographics of old BMW lovers. They are not all the same type of person on the surface. You have engineers and artists, doctors and tradesmen, introverts who modify their cars alone in garages, and extroverts who show up to every meet. But psychologically, they share a remarkably consistent set of traits: high openness to experience, a preference for depth over surface, a tendency to resist trends and form their own opinions, a deep appreciation for things that are built with intention and purpose. These are not random qualities. They cluster together, and old BMWs attract that cluster like a magnet. There is one more thing worth understanding. In psychology, there is a concept known as the endowment effect, the tendency to value something more highly simply because you own it. But with old BMWs, this effect becomes extreme because ownership requires active participation. You are not a passive owner. You are a caretaker, a student, a guardian of something that will break down and reveal exactly how committed you are. And every time you show up, every time you fix the problem, learn the lesson and get back on the road, your sense of ownership deepens into something that starts to feel like pride, real pride, the kind that comes from earning something rather than simply buying it. So when you see someone driving an old BMW, a little faded, maybe a bit rough around the edges, clearly imperfect and clearly loved, understand that you are not looking at someone who settled for less. You're looking at someone who made a deliberate choice in a world designed to make every experience passive, smooth, and forgettable. They chose difficulty. They chose presence. They chose a relationship with a machine that demands the best of them. And maybe, just maybe, that is the most psychologically healthy thing a person can do in the modern world.